Hi, this is Pete the Tech Guy, and this is a special, totally free commentary for everybody. So if you're a subscriber and you see this video, well, of course, I'm going to send you the link. But if you're a non-subscriber, you won't have to hit the tip jar or subscribe to see this one. Of course, if you hit the tip jar or subscribe, I'll be much happier. This free commentary is all about election 2012, who I'm voting for, what I'm voting for, and why. We're going to go through all of the races that matter nationally and statewide. We're going to touch the questions very briefly at the end. First, let's start for Congress here. I live in the new Massachusetts 3rd District. The candidates are Nikki Tsongas, who is the incumbent, and John Golnick, running for the second time. Now, of all the Democrats running, this race is the three big races, this is probably the one that's closest for me in one respect. Nikki Tsongas is a likable woman. I voted for her husband when he ran for president, and I think he was probably the last really good Democratic candidate. She's a very straightforward lady, a very friendly lady, and unlike many Democrats, she has no problem standing by what she voted for. Or to put it another way, she's wrong, but she's wrong honest. She's a true believing liberal, and unlike many other liberals who voted one way and tried to duck it, she sincerely believes that the increased spending, the increased taxation and the like is best for the country. She's dead wrong, by the way, about all of these things. In fact, she's actually made the argument that we're better off than we were 4 years ago. That's an absurdity. I go door to door for a living selling ads for my radio show in addition to the tip jar and the subscriptions. And let me tell you, I haven't run into anyone who thinks we're better off than we were 4 years ago. Her opponent is businessman John Golnick. Now, John Golnick, I probably agree with about 95% of the time. About the main thing that I disagree with him about is I'd like to see the Department of Education gone. He doesn't believe in that. But Golnick is a fiscal conservative. He is smart enough and wise enough to know that our problem in Washington is not a revenue problem. It's a spending problem. In debate after debate, he has stressed this. He has said bluntly that the reason why I don't want to make a deal with revenues up front is because we always make deals with revenue up front and tax cuts later. Or cuts, I should say, not tax cuts, spending cuts, which are all over the course of 10 years and never seem to happen. We've been constantly told for decades about this cut and that cut. Federal spending has never gone down. It's a bunch of bull. John Golnick understands this clearly and distinctly. He also understands that we need a more business-friendly environment if we're going to have businesses in the 3rd District. And he's making that case. John is also pro-life and is an excellent candidate for the 3rd District. I wholeheartedly support him and hope you do too. Now let's go on to the Senate race. We have a choice between Scott Brown and Elizabeth Warren. Now, in a previous commentary, I talked about the fact that Scott Brown's kind of a 60% guy. He's a very nice fellow who will give people who disagree with him a fair hearing, and he votes with Democrats a lot more than I'd like. I hate his abortion position. I hate his Planned Parenthood position. However, he has been a more than capable senator, and frankly, compared to Elizabeth Warren, there's no contest. Elizabeth Warren encapsulates everything that's wrong with the academic elite. She is incredibly out of touch with reality in terms of how jobs are made, how business is done. In terms of her policies, she is much farther left than the state of Massachusetts. In fact, I think that one of the biggest mistakes the Democrats made was to select Elizabeth Warren. There were, in fact, one or two candidates here who might have beaten Scott Brown. In fact, the person who stayed till the end on the Democratic side until the convention, I was very worried that that woman would have beaten Brown. Elizabeth Warren, very far left. The Cherokee issue, she did to herself. If she had admitted right up front, yes, I took an advantage because I thought I was Cherokee, and why wouldn't I? These are tough times, and they were tough times for me. Don't you take every advantage you have possible right now when you're looking for jobs in this bad economy? People would have understood that. But no, she ducked, bobbed, and weaved, which really says something about her, and something not so nice. The business about the asbestos stuff, the business about the various people she's represented, I'm not so hot about that. The law license stuff, that I'm not hot about. Now, I've actually seen Elizabeth Warren up close, and I've seen how she deals with individuals. When she talks to individuals, she actually seems like a very nice person in person. In fact, I have a few liberal friends who have talked to her in that fashion. But the bottom line is, when people hear her talk, they don't like it. She lectures. The proof of this are her commercials. You do not see her talk in any of her commercials anymore, because when she talks directly to voters, they run away. And this should be a runaway race. Scott Brown is a far superior candidate, as I said. The one disadvantage Brown has this time around, the reason why it won't be a blowout, is because so many other Democrats are running and will try and get as many Democrats to the polls. But Brown is pulling a fair amount of Democrats. I think he's going to win. I think it's going to be closer than the 5 points last time, but I think he's going to win and be a very fine senator for the next 6 years. Now on to president. It is absolutely no secret that Mitt Romney was not my first choice or my second choice, and he probably wasn't my third. My guy was Rick Santorum. He gave Mitt a run for his money, but he lost. Mitt Romney as governor, I would have liked to have seen him try and build the Republican Party more. It's true, he had a legislature that could override anything he vetoed, so he made deals, lots of deals. But I think the real job of a governor was to build the party from inside. But there's no question that Mitt Romney is an incredibly competent businessman, a person who knows about jobs, who knows about a lot of things, and his personal life is frankly above reproach. The guy is one of the smartest men ever to run for president, and I mean properly smart. His experiences are exactly what we need at the exact right time on the fiscal side. On the foreign policy side, I think he would be far superior to President Obama because he's very pragmatic in terms of this is the problem we have to solve. In terms of social issues, I honestly don't know. I think that in his core, he's with me on a lot of social issues. But I think he's rather pragmatic about them too. I really don't know where he's going to go there. But I do know where Barack Obama is. When Barack Obama was elected in 2008, I wrote at the time, I'm expecting Jimmy Carter, but I'm hoping for Chester Arthur. Jimmy Carter would be an improvement. Barack Obama has been the worst president of my lifetime. And that's saying something, because I lived through Jimmy Carter, I lived through Richard Nixon, and I was alive during Lyndon Johnson's years. President Obama, I don't think has ever really been challenged on anything in his life. A lot of what he's had has been given to him in terms of, oh, we're going to let things go. Things were let go at Harvard. Things were let go at college. Things were let go on the campaign trail, both in the Senate, state Senate, and in the Senate race. He's had quite a few lucky breaks in his life, and frankly, his campaign to win the Democratic nomination was absolutely brilliant. His handlers, Axelrod and like, were real pros. But as president, he's governed like a fool. He's decided he was going to push Democrats into Obamacare, something that they did not want to do. And if you doubt me that they wanted to do it, remember, he had an overwhelming majority in the House, and they had to be dragged kicking and screaming without Republicans to pass it. If this was a good bill, Democrats would have signed it without trying to make deals. In terms of religious freedom, he's been an abomination. In terms of defense, let's put it this way. If you can't defend American soil on 9/11, if you're not ready for such an attack, you don't belong being in the White House. He supported the Muslim Brotherhood. He's ignored when Iran had a revolution a couple of years ago when the people were rising in the streets. He didn't bother to support them, but he had no problem undermining an ally of ours, Egypt. That's not good strategic thinking. He is a far, far left person. Personally, I think he's a socialist. Actually, I think he's a Marxist. But what else could he be? His father was very far left, and frankly, although his father was far left, his parents were further left. He was raised as a leftist. His mentors were leftists. What else is he going to be but a leftist? Now, if he believes that, that's fine. That's not what he ran as. A lot of people fell for the Obama bells and whistles and hope and change. I'm not one of them. Barack Obama has been a disaster as a president. Now, yeah, he had some bad economic problems that came in the last year of President Bush's term. In fact, came in the last 2 years after the Democrats took back the House of Representatives. But you know what? If you have a pitcher, if you're playing baseball and you're down 3-0, you bring in a reliever and he gives up 5 runs, and you go to the mound to say, I gotta pull you, do you listen to him to say, hey, it's not my fault, the starter gave up the first 3 runs, that's why we're losing? Well, you know what? Your job is to either improve things so our offense can come up or hold them back a little bit. Barack Obama hasn't done it. It's time for a change. Mitt Romney's strengths are exactly in the places where the country needs them the most. And he has the potential to be a great president. Am I going to agree with him all the time? Probably not. Is he going to give me what I want on social issues? I don't know. I have my worries there, but in terms of financial issues, in terms of the fiscal well-being of the country, there's no question that he'll give satisfaction. So I'm voting for Mitt Romney, and I encourage you to do that too. As far as Massachusetts goes, there's 2 questions on the ballot. Question 1 is marijuana. Now, I think this whole medical marijuana business is ridiculous. You either legalize it or it's not, because it's going to be used as a dodge, and everybody knows it's going to be used as a dodge. Frankly, it should not be legalized based on the fact that it's against federal law. Unless federal law changes, it overrides the state law in this issue. Unless we've decided that the Civil War and nullification all didn't happen. But let's think about it a different way. Let's say we legalized marijuana altogether. Remember, that means that on your insurance form you're going to be asked, are you a smoker of marijuana? And your car rates and your life insurance rates will be adjusted. Don't think so? People are pulled over for drunk driving right now. What do you think is going to happen when people are pulled over for high driving? How safe are you going to feel on the roads? This is something that people should think about before they rush on the marijuana bandwagon. Secondly, there's the assisted suicide law. This stinks. First of all, the law is crafted horribly, even if you believed in this stuff. But let's forget that for a moment and think of something more basic. This is Massachusetts. We've had referendums that said the tax rate is going to go down. The legislature ignored it. Right now we have tough economic times and all kinds of people are getting on disability, and doctors are letting them do it. What makes you think that the legislature, which is basically a one-party state at the moment, is not going to alter this law in favor of making it easier and easier to kill people? It's not going to happen right away, but in 20 years, when I'm old enough to be knocked off, there's going to be tons of pressure to have me kill myself in order to save the state a buck. My children are going to have it explained to them, oh, you're easing their suffering. Oh, you're easing things. Oh, it's death with dignity. Bullshit. It's simply death. Death is death. This death with dignity stuff is ridiculous. You have one life. Now me, I'm Catholic. I believe in the afterlife. I believe in heaven, hell, and purgatory. But let's say you don't. You have one life. You're going to let someone else talk you into tossing it because it's inconvenient? And what happens when the law changes? When it becomes more and more convenient for you not to live? You watch what happens. It's not going to be pleasant. I would urge a vote no on question 2. So to recap, John Golnick versus Nikki Tsongas. Nikki Tsongas, nice lady, but wrong. John Golnick, nice guy, and right. Vote for John Golnick in the 3rd District. Scott Brown versus Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren, very, very wrong. Even too liberal for Massachusetts. Scott Brown, too liberal, more liberal than I would like, but much better than Elizabeth Warren. My vote is for Scott Brown. Mitt Romney versus Barack Obama. So we have a governor who was the governor of my state, who I would have liked to see more assertive, versus Barack Obama, the worst president of my lifetime. Do you even have to ask? Mitt Romney, clearly over Barack Obama. Very clearly. Please don't vote for Barack Obama this time around. Now remember though, whatever decision you make, this is America. We have freedom, free elections. We have freedom of expression. Make your decision and live with it. Because no matter how the vote turns out and no matter how you vote, we as a country and we as a state are going to get the government we deserve. Well, I hope you liked the special election commentary that's available free to everyone for a change. And remember, if you'd like my regular subscription commentaries, simply go to the Tech Guy blog, that's DaTechGuys blog.com, hit the tip jar for any amount, and you'll get that week's commentaries. Hit the subscription button for any amount, and you'll get the commentaries every week as they come out. This is Pete the Tech Guy, and don't forget to check my regular column, Under the Fedora, available all over the web, and my radio show, The Tech Guy on the Radio, available 10 a.m. to noon on WCRN AM 830. And by the way, if you ever miss The Tech Guy on the Radio on AM 830 in Worcester, go to the Tech Guy blog, click on my Fedora, and it'll play the latest show. In fact, all of them, except for 2 that were lost, are available for free online. Thanks again. You take care.